Okay. It's time for week 2 in the NFL. Super excited. Obviously, week 2 kicked off on Thursday with the Commanders taking on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers looked elite. That defense is maybe better than advertised. I've been saying that defense is sneakily good, and they might be the best defense in the NFL. I mean, they shut down Detroit in week 1, they shut down the Commanders in week 2. And if that defense plays like that, they are legit Super Bowl contenders. Washington, well, they didn't look great in week 1 when they beat the Giants. And in week 2, obviously, they played Green Bay and looked like the lesser team for sure. Um, you know, Kind of hard to tell exactly with Washington, but it does seem like they are just not as explosive and not as good as they were last year. So we'll see how the season plays out for them. Again, I think I had them going 10-7. So I did expect a little bit of regression from them. So I think this is normal. They lost some pieces, and now people are more aware of Jaden Daniels and what he can do. So we'll see how they bounce back after this loss to Green Bay. But we got to look ahead. Sunday is just around the corner, and we have our slate. So let's take a look right here. I got my red marker out. We're about to start picking teams for week 2 of the NFL season. Let's begin with Cleveland taking on Baltimore. In Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens are favored by 11.5. This Cleveland defense, for as bad as the offense may be, the Cleveland defense is up there with Green Bay. It's honestly might be them and Green Bay as 1 and 2 of the best defenses in the league. But Green Bay's already played 2 games and looks elite for both. We'll see if Cleveland looks that way. I mean, they kept Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati Bengals offense in week 1 to only 7 yards in the second half. Not 7 points, 7 yards in the whole second half of that game. So I think 11.5 is too high. I still think the Ravens take care of business, but I think it'll be by less than 11.5, maybe by a touchdown, maybe 8 points, but that's a high line. All right, Jacksonville taking on Cincinnati. Again, Cincinnati just snuck by and got by Cleveland last week in Cleveland. So now this is their home opener, taking on the Jaguars, who took care of business against the Panthers last week. I think it's good for the Bengals that they barely got by and that they kind of were humbled as an offense. I expect the Bengals to take care of business here. I think they'll win and they'll beat Jacksonville, but I'm a little afraid of that line. That half point's killing me. I think they win by a field goal because I don't think the Cincinnati defense is all that good. I'll take the Bengals to win at home by about a field goal to the Jaguars, but we'll see how that plays out. Giants at Dallas. Hey, Dallas really beat themselves against Philly. They played a great week 1 game. Dak looked incredible. Now they play a Giants team which lost to the Commanders and really didn't look good at all on offense. And now we know the Commanders might not be that good either because they just lost to the Packers. So I'm taking Dallas. I think they'll win by more than 4.5, but we'll pick the Cowboys to get it done. I think they could win by more than 4.5 for sure. All right, Chicago at Detroit. This one's tough because the line's 6.5. But I also think that, the Bears really played a very kind of slow, boring Minnesota Vikings team for 3 quarters last week. I think Kevin O'Connell was kind of handicapping J.J. McCarthy and not letting him, do much downfield in that first half. And they still got beat by the Vikings. So I'm a little scared here with this line, but I think, again, as someone who still thought Detroit could win and would win this division in the NFC North, I got to pick Detroit. They cannot start 0-2, and it might be closer than 6.5, but I actually think Detroit will come out guns blazing. It's a home opener. They looked horrible in week 1 against Green Bay, so I think it's a bounce back win for Detroit. New England in Miami. This one's tough. It's Miami's home opener. They did not look good at all in week 1. New England didn't look good at all in week 1 because they played Las Vegas. But I'm going to take the Patriots on the road. I think Mike Vrabel is a better coach. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And I think Tua is just not that good at playing quarterback. And the Patriots defense, with Vrabel being a defensive coach, I think that they'll take care of business in Miami. San Francisco by 3 in New Orleans. Remember, Brock Purdy is out. So they're playing Mac Jones, who hasn't had a great career thus far. They're in New Orleans, who doesn't have a lot of great playmakers, or has some playmakers, doesn't have a playmaker at quarterback. Spencer Rattler is their guy. But it's risky because it's Mac Jones, and Kittle's not playing. But I still got to go with the coaching here, and I'm going to go with San Francisco to win. But honestly, I would take I don't know if I would take the points, but I think it's a field goal game. I think this one's close. So yeah, but San Francisco on the road. Buffalo at the Jets. Woo! I'm taking the Jets. We're gonna go upset here. The Jets looked frisky last week, and Buffalo didn't look great until the very end. But they also played the Ravens, which are a great team. So I'm very scared of this pick. You know what? Nah, this isn't gonna be my upset. I'm sorry. I'm erasing this. We are gonna go with the Bills. We'll come back. I'll fix that. But yeah, I'm taking the Bills, but I think they barely get it done. I think they win by like a point or a field goal. It's not 6.5. That's too high. Buffalo will win though. That's I'm back down to earth. All right, Seattle at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's at home. They're favored by 3. They played the Jets last week and barely got by. So, but Rodgers looked good and the defense looked horrible for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they'll bounce back. I think this is a defensive game where Pittsburgh's defense steps up, and I'm going to take the Steelers to win at home. And I would take the points, I guess, but the field goal seems about right. All right, the Rams at the Titans. The Titans looked frisky last week in Denver. The coaching was horrible, and the Rams have great coaching. So, but this, you know what? This is where I'll go with the upset. It's the Tennessee Titans home opener. Cam Ward, he looked good. A lot of receivers dropped passes last week that they shouldn't have dropped. This will be my upset. I'm taking the Titans to beat the Rams, who are favored by 5.5. Carolina at Arizona. Got to take Arizona here. Carolina didn't show me anything. I think they regret the Adam Thielen trade not necessarily because Thielen's balling out or a stud receiver at his age, but because they need bodies at receiver, and they're kind of down to, some depth guys for wide receiver. So I think Arizona gets the job done. 6.5 is on the high side, but I like Arizona to win. I think they would win by 6 or a little bit less than that line. So I think it's a high line. All right, Denver at Indy. I'm taking the Broncos. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. And last week just happened to play a better Tennessee team, in my opinion, from what people expect them to be. And I also think that they just made some stupid decisions. I mean, Sean Payton had Bo Nix throwing a 40-yard pass on 4th and 1, and it was just weird. So I think they bounce back. I think their defense steps up, and it's Daniel Jones. I have a hard time betting on Daniel Jones against a great defense like the Denver Broncos. So I'm taking Denver. I would take the points. I think they win by more than 2.5. I'd take the line and have Denver win by more than that. Philly at KC. This hurts me because I have a lot of respect for the Kansas City Chiefs. But, hey, got to be unbiased here. And honestly, I'm taking the Eagles mainly because I saw what happened in the Super Bowl last year. Yes, the teams are different, but they're not that much different. Philly smacked KC last year in the Super Bowl. And KC didn't look great in week 1 against the Chargers. Now Xavier Worthy's hurt. He might play. I think he might be playing, but he's got a bum shoulder. I mean, KC's offense just doesn't look the part. I think Philly's offense can do it. Again, Philly's secondary is the liability, but we'll see. I think it's going to be a close game. I would take Philly. And when it's a 1.5, essentially, if I'm not taking the spread, then that means I'm betting on Philly to win by 1 point. So give me the Eagles to win by more than 1.5. Atlanta at Minnesota. I think it's going to be a tough and close game, but I got my Vikings. Come on, I'm going to be at this game. I can't pick away from them. 3.5, the half point scares me because I do think that Atlanta has a chance for like a backdoor cover. But I don't know. I think if J.J. McCarthy showed anything last week is that Kevin O'Connell needs to kind of trust him a little bit with some of these plays. I think he will. And I think the Vikings offense will look better in that first half. I don't think they're going to be the greatest show on turf suddenly. But I also think Minnesota's a little bit banged up. They have some injuries, and that would come into play. If they were fully healthy, I would take the Vikings by more than 3.5 for sure. But I think those injuries might be hurtful. And the Addison suspension, he's suspended for this game and the next one as well. So I got the Vikings winning. I could see them winning by 4, or so as well. But the 3.5 scares me. But I mean, if I was betting it, I'm betting by more than 3.5 because I want to see that result. But if you're smart, think about that one. 3.5, that hook, kind of scary. Tampa Bay at Houston. I got Houston. I think Tampa Bay is frisky and they're a great team. But I think they already got a win that they needed last week in Atlanta, barely winning against a Falcons team that I don't think is that great. And I do think Houston has a chance to be a pretty good team. They have a good defense. I think that's way different from the Atlanta Falcons defense, and it's their home opener. So, they hung in there with the Rams last week in LA. So I think Houston will win, and if they win by a field goal, they cover the spread. So I have Houston. And the Chargers here taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. That line's a little high. Again, the half hook, man. That half is a little scary. But here, let's slide this over. I didn't even realize that. But let's go with the Chargers. I just think that they showed last week playing against the Chiefs that they are a pretty damn good team. And I think so are the Raiders. They're improved. But I think the Chargers pull this one out. It's a divisional game, so anything can happen. I think the Chargers get the job done, but the 3.5 scares me. I think it's a field goal game. I think we're due for a great week 2 of the NFL season. Let me know what you guys agree or disagree with. I'd love to hear from y'all, and we can go back and forth on some of these picks, and then we'll follow in. We'll come back, and we'll take a look next week at how everything played out. Until then, you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy some more football. Enjoy the rest of college football later tonight. And enjoy week 2 of the NFL season. I'll talk to you guys next week.